My professional goals are to completely change my entire career. Because of COVID, I lost the company that I ran and that I owned. And I gave myself some time to really consider what I wanted. And I realized I wanted the very thing that I had been hoping for 5 years in the future, which is to create a career for myself of working with others, serving others in therapy and teaching long till the end of my life. I wanted to have a career that I can do forever. So, yeah. And then how do those goals fit into earning a graduate degree? Well, I couldn't make this change without it. When I started looking at making this change in my life and in my career, I considered all my options. I put out a very big net. I talked to people I know, especially older women who got their degree older, in their 40s and 50s like me. And I got their advice and their experience, and then started looking at all the big universities. And I knew based on what I saw that that's not what I wanted. That's not how I wanted to practice, and that's not how I wanted to serve. And so I started making the net smaller, considering who or what school can actually provide me the type of skills and the type of perspectives that not only I already have, but that can expand that in a bigger way. And only a few schools ended up in that tiny little net. And one of them was Meridian. And as I dug deeper, it kept being Meridian. And I wasn't sure about doing an online program, though that was one of my deciding criteria. So I went back again and did the process again, and it ended up Meridian. So it was just an obvious choice for me. I mean, from the books we get to read, to the type of classmates I have, to the types of discussions we have about psychology and the wider integral, transpersonal way that we kind of take a look at these topics. That's why. I chose the Psy.D program in psychology because I was very interested specifically to do a clinical study and to really dig into the human experience and become helpful and an expert in that area. And then as I started talking to other people in the field, as I began to better understand the difference between Psy.D and a PhD, I realized that I want to transfer into the PhD program to widen my opportunities. I realized I want to teach as well as see clients. I want to probably write and research as well as teach and see clients. So it was just like, I realized I didn't want to limit my opportunities to just being clinical. I chose transpersonal as my concentration because I have about 20 years in meditation and Buddhist studies and philosophy, as well as yoga and other areas of spirituality. And so the idea of being able to experience and use psychology through the lens of consciousness and use consciousness as a way to access the whole human experience, including psychology, is really exciting. I also really love the idea of doing more research, which in areas of consciousness and how it affects our everyday experience, not only in the micro, but then in the macro. Me as an individual within this community, within this wider culture in the globe, how does my consciousness, how does the collective consciousness all play together to create, hopefully, a better future for ourselves? So one of the reasons I chose Meridian was because of its offer of the transformative education experience. I had no idea exactly what that meant, though I had a sense of it, because certainly we talked about it in the interview, and of course I researched it a little bit, but I didn't know how that would apply to this specific experience. And it has been transformative. It has been surprising. That's the word that keeps coming up in my head, is surprising. Each term I feel like, okay, I have a handle on this. I kind of know what to expect, but each term I'm pleasantly surprised with what emerges for myself, and then what I get to witness emerge in others. not only as the individual, but again, as the collective within the class. My experience at Meridian has been defined completely by the people. I have been so fortunate, and I'm hoping this is everybody's experience. I've been so fortunate to have the most wonderful classmates, so interesting, so diverse, from all over the world, from all different backgrounds, all different cultures. And that blending of voices and experiences creates such an interesting mix and a transformative experience for myself. Add to that the really extraordinary staff and professors that we get to interact with and who create this container and kind of guide us on this journey. So for me, that has made the Meridian experience everything. I mean, of course I love everything I'm learning. I knew I would. So that's not the most exciting part for me. My experience of the faculty at Meridian has been extraordinary. It's an online course, so I know that, and I knew that coming into it, and it's been amazing to be able to interact with people from all over the country. The biggest disappointment is that they are such tremendous people, and they are such tremendous teachers, that we don't get to have more interaction with them. And if that's my greatest disappointment, I'm happy because it just means that I want more of that goodness and more of what they share. So I'm typically taking the standard number of courses, 2 per term, and I'm choosing to do that just to stay at pace. I want to get through this education and to the other side where I get to start being of service and actually inhabiting my career. And at the same time, there's a part of me that wants to slow down and enjoy everything that's happening. So over the summer, I had lots of different life experiences happening, not the least being I moved across country and was, starting a new job, etc. I took one, and it was amazing. It was such a good experience to be able to sink deeply into the material and read every word that was given to us and read all the posts of my classmates. Because at 2, while it's manageable, it does become overwhelming very quickly. The amount of reading we have to do, the amount of assignments we have to do that require us not only just to read and respond, but to dig deeply into ourselves. So it's not something I can just sit down and do at any time. I have to have the mental, emotional resources, as well as time and space to do it. I have attended an intensive, and it was over the summer, and that's when I took 1 course. It was tremendous. I had no idea what to expect, and I went in without expectation, cleared my schedule as much as I could, told all of my clients that I was not available. And what emerged for me was nothing less than transformative. The containers that were created for us each day held me in such a way that I was not even necessarily aware of the amount of energy that I was processing, or the transformation that was happening. That really only hit once the container was closed and the weekend arrived. And then it all landed, and the immensity of the experience really landed. I thought, okay, there was something really big here. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I have a few years to go, so I'm always hesitant to talk about plans 4 years in the future. Ideally, my plan would be to teach. I absolutely love teaching and working with others in that kind of format. I also really look forward to having my own private practice or working within a clinical setting, allowing that to arise as it will. I've heard lots of different stories of how this can happen, and I'm open to letting that happen as it will. I'm not entirely settled on where I'm going to be geographically. Right now I'm in Texas. I likely will be moving back to California. 4 years is a long time. I look forward to creating a career that I can sustain and grow, and I really want to work and be of service until my last breath. So I gave a lot of thought to what that might be and what fit into my own interests. And this became the most obvious path. What that looks like in the future, we'll see.